Hey fellas, how you doing? It's Johnny Berber. I want to show you a clip from my 30-day anxiety program. I dug this out and I wanted to put a clip on YouTube. I think this is brilliant. I keep saying it. I've watched the program over again because I didn't watch it for ages. I made it 2 years ago. And I'm not just saying it because I made the program. I sort of neglected it and forgot about it. But it's so relevant to social anxiety. More relevant, I think, now than it was when I made it. Because when I made it 2 years ago, I was still really teaching men how to pick women up on the street. But this program's to help you overcome social anxiety and build social confidence, which I think is a lot more valuable. And that's why I've taken my teaching in a different direction. So this exercise I want to show you is so beneficial. It massively helped me when I was working through my anxieties and my shyness, and it's a vocal tonality exercise. And I think I demonstrated it really well because you'll see some demonstrations of me, and I'm just having a bit of fun with it as well, saying hello to women on the street. And that's it. The purpose of the exercise is to get you to improve. It's basically to speak up. Because I work with a lot of people as well, and it's sort of an unconscious fear we have when we're working on our self-esteem and we're shy and anxious. We tend to speak low. I remember I did it when I was a kid. My mum would always say, "I can't hear what you're saying, can you speak up?" And I noticed when I used to go into shops and order coffee, and just from day to day, I'd unconsciously be quite ashamed of my voice and embarrassed to be heard. So I'd be speaking down, and it would always cause me an inconvenience because people would say, "What? I can't hear you." That doesn't happen to me no more because I've worked on my vocal projection. So I'm going to say it again. Yes, when you watch this video, this clip, you're seeing me going out on the street and doing it. So I just remind people that I've demonstrated this on the street. And the reason I did it, because at the time, I liked going out on the street and attracting women and demonstrating, teaching on the street, because the street is a good place. But as I've grown now, this is me personally, and this is what I encourage people that I work with on my 6 weeks program. And this is really what people want. I'm encouraging you to practice this movement in all social situations. If you just go out on the street and you practice from the program how I've done it, it's definitely going to improve your confidence. But if you don't practice it in all areas, you're not going to be congruent. Does that make sense? So I'm saying, yes, consciously go out on the street and practice saying hello to women and practice saying hello to people and be genuine, be honest, be yourself when you're doing it. Otherwise people will pick up on it and you won't connect. It's not going to be honest. When you've done that, you've got a feel of that, you practice with everyone. So I'm going to remind you again, in the video I'm on the street and I'm saying hello as a demonstration to show you how to practice speaking louder and to improve your confidence, your tonality with women. But the same principle remains throughout your social interactions. You'll probably notice if you consciously practice it, which is what I've made the 30-day anxiety program for, it will start becoming natural to you. So when I first started doing things like video blogs, public speaking, talking to people, going on dates, being more conscious about my behaviour, I noticed that I had a lot of anxieties around speaking up. Sometimes I still have it, I have to remind myself, but now it's become part of my personality. And I'm excited about putting these clips out because I've been doing lots of videos on psychology, on social anxiety, on overcoming fears, on childhood trauma. So I thought it would just even out the videos because people were still asking me for demonstrations. I'm not going to do demonstrations of me picking up women because I don't teach that anymore. But I am going to be doing more videos where I go out and demonstrate how to speak to people. And I'll see how I feel about the videos. I'll be doing more in the future. But this program is brilliant because it's practical. It's got all of the demonstrations and the philosophies are all honest and they work in all social situations. As a matter of fact, what reminded me to do this video, I got up earlier this morning and I went out and went for a coffee. And when I went into the coffee shop, it was empty, and it brings memories back. Because when I was socially anxious, I was very self-conscious when I'd first go into coffee shops. I'd be thinking, am I being judged? I'd be anxious about, when we exchange the transaction, ordering the coffee. But I just appreciated how much more relaxed I feel in myself today through practicing these philosophies, and it's very simple. All it is speaking up more. That's it. That is the practice. What I'm doing now, you practice speaking up more, and you might exaggerate at first, so it might feel a bit strange because you're consciously practicing speaking louder with people, but it will become natural, and that's where I am now, and I know this is going to help you. So I keep looking at the computer, it's a habit because I'm looking at the video. So if you enjoy the clip and you like it and you want to build your social confidence, and let me just remind you, this is going to help you with your dating. It's going to help you in all of your social situations. Speaking clearly is it's something that's really, what's the word I'm looking for? People neglect it. There's so many times I meet people, and I'm not being judgmental at all because I was like this, and they don't speak clear, and it can ruin the connection because you're trying to understand what someone's saying. And if you first meet someone, you don't have to overpower people, you don't have to exaggerate, but it just helps to speak clearer. You can engage people more, and of course, if you're a man and you want to get better at speaking to women, this is going to help because women pick up on things like this. If you're a woman, this would help you as well, and you're shy, you've got anxiety, so this program would help for women. I'd recommend you get a copy, and you can practice these. I don't even want to say techniques because they're not techniques, it's honesty. You can practice this any way you want. I just demonstrated it on the street because it was convenient to film, and that was where I was comfortable at the time. But I do this in my daily life, and when I go into coffee shops now, I never have that problem of having to keep repeating myself and saying excuse me, and you know, the girl at the checkout says, what did you say? Excuse me, can I get a coffee? It's very natural, the tonality's there. So check out the clip, and if you enjoy it, you can purchase my 30-day anxiety program, and it's got the video you're going to see, it's got about 20 videos. They're all practical and they're all self-explanatory. I explain like I do in this format, and then I demonstrate it, and it would be brilliant to help you to overcome your social anxiety, your shyness, and it's going to help. It's confidence building. It's going to help you in all situations. So people still ask me, are you still teaching men how to get better with women? I'm saying I'm not directly doing it anymore, but I'm helping people with social confidence, and social confidence is what attracts women as well. It's what makes you attracted towards everyone, and it's going to help you to be more relaxed in yourself. So enjoy the clip, and if you want to do the whole program, which is 30 days, click the link below and you can purchase my 30-day anxiety program, and I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the process.
The exercise you're about to see is a vocal tonality exercise. This is amazing for improving your projection, your presence, and showing girls that you're confident, and most importantly, getting girls to stop and engage in talking to you. So I'm going to use one word, and it's hello. It's that simple. The reason I'm using the word hello is a word that everyone can identify with, everyone understands. It's one word and it's a great practice. So all you do is you walk up to a girl, you can approach her with any sort of variation which I've shown in the other video on body language, and you just go, hello. So the practice is here. It's not about saying a fancy line, it's about saying hello with intent, and it's saying it loud and clear. And what you should find is the girl should really engage. You should capture their attention. And again, you don't have to have a conversation with them. It's just that initial getting them engaged, getting them to respond well, and getting used to being confident out in public, out on the street where there's people around. So going over and saying, hello, you know, hello. It's so simple. So you can see when I do it to the camera, eye contact, smile, voice tone, relaxed body language, you know, chest out, back straight, feet apart, and just going over and just saying, hello. And you'll find girls will be like, hi. And again, if you get rejected, it doesn't matter. It's part of the learning. When I started, I got rejected. You just keep going, you keep refining your approach, watching back on the video and watching over those things. Eyes, smile, voice. So this is the hello exercise. Enjoy the demonstration. Excuse me. Hello.
Oh, sorry, I'm going back to work.
Sorry. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Sorry,
Good. Hello.
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 Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you.
All right, well, welcome everybody. This is Bruce Music. I'm here with a very special guest of mine, Anna Breitenbach, and I'm going to be asking her a couple of questions. Anna is an incredibly special human being in that she does something very unique. She communicates with animals, but I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about how that all works along the way. And welcome, Anna.
Thanks, Bruce. Great to be here with you.
And thank you for giving me the time to just quiz you a little bit about what you do. When I first met you, you told me you were an interspecies communicator. Tell me what an interspecies communicator is.
It sounds like a very kind of fancy and weird term, but really it's about using non-verbal ways to communicate between different beings, in particular between different species. So why I call myself an animal communicator is because I focus on how humans can understand and hear messages from other kinds of animals in particular. And it really is the way that other species communicate with each other out in the wild anyway. The birds are communicating in this way with the buck or the deer out in the field, and the predators and the prey.
Got it.
The particular application is how we as humans can communicate with non-human animals.
So what you're saying is that you can actually talk to the animals, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's sometimes shows up in life as perhaps horse whispering. That's a term that people are quite familiar with.
Yeah.
It's really animal whispering, all kinds of animals, not just horses. And it is talking to the animals as well as hearing what they have to say back. So in the energy realm, it's quite different than doing just a psychic reading and in some distant observer way trying to fathom what's going on for the animal. It's actually literally a present, two-way conversation, a sending and receiving of information in both directions.
Wow. You know, one of the things I love about Anna's background is that she's kind of come from a corporate environment. You were a trainer in Silicon Valley in the corporate environment, and she started having these experiences, call them what you will, communication experiences or psychic experiences, and from what you told me, you decided to follow your passion and turn and switch careers.
Yes, absolutely. And I was indeed a business analyst, working in the consulting realm over in Silicon Valley in California, project managing IT projects, training trainers, very left-brain, logical stuff.
This is the other end of the spectrum.
Absolutely, about as far away as one can get from this. I've always been interested and passionate about conservation there, in particular, passionate about conservation of wildlife. And so all my free time was spent in rehabilitation centres or sanctuaries or education programs about cheetahs and wolves and mountain lions and things like that. But in particular, when I did my tracking training...
Tracking training being...
By tracking training, I mean actually learning how to follow and analyze footprints in the sand and to see what animals have passed when and for what purpose. But because I did my tracking training over in America and I knew nothing about North American animals, my brain didn't have the data, didn't have the database loaded of the information about these animals. And so there I was looking at footprints in the sand, not understanding it all, having no logical process to go through. And instead I began to get intuitive information about these animals' tracks and what animals they were.
Give us an example. When you say intuitive information, so you're walking through the woods, you see a track, you get an intuitive hit about what? Like,
well, I would see perhaps a track in the sand, 4 toes, a pad with sort of 2 lobes at the back, and the tracking instructor might say, well, what sorts of animals, have a pad where the heel has 2 lobes? And I wouldn't have a clue because I didn't grow up knowing about North American animals. So instead I would close my eyes and just perhaps even hold my hand over the track, and I would get a spontaneous mental image of an animal that has a dog-like face, slightly shaggy, tawny colours, and I would then describe this animal to the tracking instructor, and he'd say, well, yes, that's a coyote. And I'd say, oh, that's interesting. I had no idea beforehand what a coyote looked like. And it turns out that would have been a coyote tracks.
So for you, it's a visual sense you get your intuitive hits in mostly, would you say?
Sometimes, actually, funnily enough, the way in which one primarily receives information intuitively depends on your learning style. Now, I happen to not be very visual or artistic. I happen to be much more wordy and conceptual. So I tend to more just get thoughts or words or phrases in my head, not in another voice. One literally does not hear a booming voice in the clairaudience sense like that. but words or phrases or just sudden knowings pop into my mind. Where it's appropriate that it's visual, then I do get visions. For example, perhaps an animal's wanting to express an action it wishes to do with its body, or the horse wants to run free, then I would get a little mental snippet of that kind of an image.
Wow.
But this is very akin to how the native peoples around the world have been in harmony with their landscapes, whether we're talking about the San, Bushmen, the Native Americans or the First Nations there, or the Australian and Aborigines, the South Pacific Islanders. This is how they knew about their environments. It wasn't always only by direct observation or using the five senses, but by being all the time in tune with the flow of constant communication that's happening in nature between different species.
Incredible. Now tell me, give me some examples of consulting you've done with animals where you've actually managed to communicate with somebody's pet, for example. Because it does sound at first glance like quite a big concept to grasp. And I'm sure there's people there thinking they're watching this thinking a little bit skeptically, okay, how does this work?
Exactly.
So why don't you give us some examples?
Sure. Well, I was the biggest skeptic at first, but I chose to therefore study through an institute in America called the Assisi International Animal Institute. And that was the best possible thing, because aside from the courses set up in a certain order, we also had a large case study requirement. The whole double-blind thing, working with animals of people we don't know and asking certain questions and having them send their feedback to the institute as well.
Having the owners of the animals send their feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And why that was so useful to me in particular was because in my day job there I was as a project manager and business analyst, very left-brain logical thinking, not wanting to trust these strange experiences I was having. And the case studies again and again proved to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's absolutely real. So early on in some of the case studies even, I'd be dealing with real live issues with animals, and they can be used to address certainly medical conditions without wanting to stray into the realm of diagnostics, because I'm not a veterinary professional. I can nonetheless find out from animals how they are feeling inside their bodies, which can be very useful information for a vet who is trying to make a diagnosis. And that whole thing that vets kind of bemoan, oh, if only they could speak. Well, guess what? They can. So I've had one example that springs to mind is a dog who's came in limping, leg swollen. We didn't know if it'd been perhaps a snake bite or a sprained ankle or something. If it were a snake bite, it's potentially very, very serious and a matter of extreme urgency. Within 1 hour, we need to, administer the antivenom. But that's a big deal to undertake if it's not necessary, and it would be toxic for the dog, if unnecessary. So I rushed the dog to the vet. It was a friend's dog I was looking after at the time. Rushed the dog to the vet, and right there on the floor of the reception area, she's running through the diagnostics and trying to feel the limb, trying to find a bite site, which she didn't find. And because she couldn't find an answer easily, I simply communicated with the dog in that moment about what had happened in the early hours of the morning that had caused it to come in at about 8 a.m. limping. And the dog described that it had gone to investigate a noise in the wood pile and had come across this small cat-like creature, not a domestic cat, but slightly spotted, and this animal had bitten it between two of its pads on the paw. So the doctor was quite befuddled, said, how did I come by that information? But it was too urgent for her to engage her skepticism. And she indeed found a very small mark between two pads that would sort of prove this story from the animal. And the animal that had bitten the dog was a genet, a wild cat-like creature we found here in South Africa. And an antivenom wasn't required, but certainly anti-inflammatory and other supportive therapies, which she then administered, and the dog was fine the next day.
Wow. And I want to share another story. That's an amazing story, because I actually asked Anna to do a reading on my brother's cats. And at the time, one of my brother's cats was really struggling from being very scared. And I didn't know what else to do, so I said to my brother Nick, why don't we get hold of Anna and see if she does a reading? And Anna came back with the most amazing reading, saying that the reason the cat's hiding under the bed is because there's a maid and a vacuum cleaner that terrifies the cat. And that's exactly what happened. The maid would come in the vacuum cleaner and the cat would run under the bed and would get really, really skittish. And long story short, it made a really, really big difference with my brother, because he started completely relating to the cat like a human being again, and started doing things to make sure the cat felt comfortable, and we've got a very happy family of cats in my brother's home right now.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's really the biggest benefit of this communication, is it opens people's hearts and minds to really regarding their animal companions as sentient beings with who they are co-creating a life. And as I mentioned earlier on, it is a two-way communication, so we can just as well send information to the animals. Often a consultation I do will involve reassuring the animals about unfounded fears, or perhaps animals that have been rescued and rehomed still carry a lot of abandonment issues or separation anxiety. We can really reassure them or inform them about how life really is now. If they're about to face lifestyle changes like moving home or across continents, or having a new animal or even human baby introduced to the household, we can prepare animals for what's coming. So a lot of the consultations are in the behavioral realm with horses, cats and dogs. Another quick example is a dog who'd suddenly started attacking everyone who came to the home. He was the family dog, but suddenly he attacked the gardener who was there every day, the young nephew who came to visit, delivery people, strangers and long-term friends. And when I communicated with him, he said that his master, his guardian, had taken very ill and had essentially removed himself from the family, and that this dog had felt that suddenly their protector was missing, and he had decided to step up to the plate and become the protector. However, that wasn't naturally in his personality. He was not an alpha, and he was therefore completely inappropriately protecting the family. The pendulum had swung all the way to the other extreme. Yeah, quite exactly. He decided to overdo it a little. And I didn't know this before, but the wife corroborated afterwards that indeed her husband was very ill and had been for about 3 months, hospitalized and then at home, upstairs in a room, removed from the family. And so what I asked this dog to do, firstly I thanked him for caring to protect the family. I explained that it was an inappropriate way in which he was doing it, and that it was just scaring everyone, and people were now beginning to avoid him. And I asked that he find another way to fulfill this role. First of all, that he take the pressure off himself and not feel that it fell only on his shoulders, but that he could perhaps find another way. And just in that moment I thought of suggesting to the dog that he instead stare at people. If you wanted to ward off potential threats, just give them that hard, beady-eyed stare. And the next day the woman phoned me and laughing, actually. I'm sure the dog didn't intend to be laughed at, but she said he's walking around on the patio now and on the porch staring at everybody who passes, staring down the gardener, staring at the people who come to ride their horses on the property, but he never bit anyone again.
Wow, now how did you communicate that to him? Was that through a visual image?
Yes, I sent him a mental image. I sent the kind of emotion of requesting that he please do this, along with the emotion of reassurance. But then I sent a very strong mental image of him pleased, just standing still, keeping the mouth closed and simply staring at people. And he sent the message back that he agreed to do it. Because again we have to ask for the animal's buy-in or agreement, and he did agree to give that a try. So yes, and we all can do this. So when sending messages to our animals, we need to always send the message in the positive. If a dog is jumping up and bowling people over when they arrive at your front door, send the mental image of them keeping all 4 feet on the ground and feeling peaceful.
Yes.
And I really am very clear that everyone can do this. It's the way our brains are blueprinted to access our intuition. And so we can all send and receive information in this way intentionally when we want to, instead of waiting for it to happen spontaneously. Because we do get gut feelings and hunches in our lives almost on a daily basis.
So much so that you've stopped pretty much, as I understand, stopped consulting, and now you're teaching people to do what you do. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Facilitating and drawing out in people what is already innately within them. And helping people find this. Do this in workshop formats, weekend workshops and longer workshops that are a few days off with wild animals and lovely exotic places, swimming with dolphins and so on.
I'm coming. That's great.
They are great. But the weekend workshops are dealing with domestic animals and letting people really actually take away the aspects of the mind that separate us from these own skills within ourselves. So there are workshops in quieting the mind and accessing our intuition and beginning to become aware of what that feels like and putting it to good use.
Great. Now, from what I experienced with my brother's cats, you don't even need to be anywhere near the animals or even see them. All you needed from me was a photograph.
Yes.
So it's just kind of getting present to the spirit of the animal, I imagine, through the photograph.
Yes.
And then you can communicate directly with
That's
that,
right.
with that spirit.
That's right. There's
across
a whole
countries.
across countries, across continents. There's a whole lot of quantum mechanics behind this that explains it very, very well. And I won't go into that now, but I do on the workshops.
Yeah.
And it's completely explainable by the scientific sort of realm of quantum mechanics. Really, what we're doing by tapping into a photograph is tuning into the signature frequency of that animal. And as we are all walking around as collections of vibrating quanta, we carry with us a unique energetic fingerprint or footprint, if you like. And homeopaths work in this way by having some way to tune into the person, perhaps a piece of their hair.
Yeah.
It's just a way of energetically dialing into that particular individual in the universe and then accessing how they are thinking and feeling. Because thoughts have a very real electromagnetic consequence. As I have a thought in my mind, it sends off synapses and neurochemicals and an electromagnetic effect that can be measured by machines and indeed by other humans who want to tap into how I'm thinking and feeling. So it's all in the realm of quantum, which is the same world
Stuff
that you
I'm
live in.
interested
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So if people want to come and attend one of your seminars, how can they get hold of you? Do you have a mailing list, a website?
Yep, I have a website. It's really easy to remember, www.animalspirit.org.
Okay, animalspirit.org.
Yeah.
Got it?
And from there, one can click through to email me directly. Phone numbers are there as well. We run workshops throughout Southern Africa and once a year over in the US as well.
Great. And are you open to traveling to the rest of the world if somebody was wanting to take you there?
Absolutely. What I do is offer for people to host workshops and to assist with organizing and setting them up. And I'm very happy to go anywhere. I'm very passionate about people stepping into doing this themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anna, thank you for your time. This has been a fascinating chat, and I'm sure the people watching are just as fascinated to find out a little bit more, and they'll click through to your website and have a little bit more of a read.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything you're doing.
Great. It's wonderful. It's great to be following one's passion. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.